If you think cardiovascular coding requires memorizing a massive list of 5-digit numbers, you're making this much harder than it needs to be. By the end of the session, you will have a strict 4-step forensic framework. If you follow these steps, you will extract exactly what you need from any operative report to get the right code, every single time. We call the core logic of this section the MJ gem. It works like a formula. If you do not know the exact device, the surgical approach, and the number of leads, you do not know the code. Go ahead and open your CPT manual to the 33202 through 33275 section and grab a highlighter. Let's build the system. When you stop trying to memorize codes and start trusting a structured system, coding pacemakers and defibrillators becomes a highly predictable, exact science. Let's look at step 1. Step 1. You must identify exactly what was inserted. The terminology in the documentation must match the CPT language perfectly. Are you looking at a pacemaker, a defibrillator, or a leadless pacemaker? Codes are component-based. Determine if the surgeon placed a completely new system, replaced a pulse generator, or swapped individual leads. Once you know the parts, you move to step 2. You must confirm if the device is temporary or permanent. This chart shows the structural impact of that distinction. The provider has to document this clearly, because temporary devices are routed to an entirely different section of the manual. Permanent devices are what make up the majority of our 332 codes. Skipping this verification is a trap. If you assume permanence without checking the text, your entire coding sequence will be wrong before you even look at the anatomy. Step 3 brings us to the anatomy. How is the device implanted? This anatomical overlay shows the transvenous approach. It is the most common method, threading through the vein directly into the heart. Contrast that with the epicardial approach. This involves a thoracotomy, placing the device directly on the outside wall of the heart. If you identify an epicardial approach in the operative report, you stop immediately because that shifts you into a completely separate coding pathway. If you are on the standard transvenous path, you proceed to step 4, count the leads. This graphic shows the 3 primary configurations. You will have a single lead, a dual lead system, or a biventricular system, which uses 3 wires. Pay close attention to that 3rd wire. If a 3rd lead is added for biventricular pacing, you report codes 33224 or 33225. These are add-on codes. You will never report them as a standalone primary procedure. While counting, also scan the report for body surface activation mapping for optimization of biventricular pacing. If the provider performed that mapping, you report code 0695T in addition to the primary procedure. The physical reality of the surgery, the entrance route, and the exact number of wires dictates the structural logic of your final code selection. Now we enter the most dangerous phase of the process. Step 5 requires identifying bundled procedures and dodging test traps. Let's set a clear rule for the skin pocket. The creation or simple revision of a skin pocket is inherently bundled into the primary implant procedure. You must never code separately for skin pocket creation, and do not code separately for a routine revision. There is one exception: the relocation of a skin pocket, using codes 33222 or 33223, is a completely separate reportable service. For example, in an explant scenario where the surgeon removes a battery and repositions the pocket entirely, you report that as a relocation. Read the text carefully, because relocation and revision are different actions. There is one final alert you will likely see on a test regarding right heart catheterizations. Do not code a right heart catheterization when it is performed with a leadless pacemaker insertion. The catheterization is an inherent, inseparable mechanism required to place the leadless device, so it cannot be billed additionally. Mastering cardiovascular coding requires you to be just as rigorous about the procedures you ignore as you are about the ones you report. Here is the result of that rigor. We have an operative report extracted on the left, matching perfectly to the correct CPT codes on the right. We arrived here by checking the boxes. The device was permanent, the approach was transvenous, it utilized dual leads, and there were no add-ons. By filtering the documentation through that specific structure, we bypassed the bundling traps and avoided the lead counting errors that catch so many test takers. You don't need to commit hundreds of codes to memory. You just need to apply a forensic mindset to the text in front of you. Now put the framework to work. Open your workbook, turn to the next operative report, and prove that you are a forensic, accurate, certified, and ethical face coder.